You think you're being a good person. You offer a helping hand. You give someone the benefit of the doubt. You extend your trust. But what if that very kindness, that generosity you see as a virtue, is actually your greatest weakness? There are people who walk among us who see your good will not as a gift, but as an opportunity. They are architects of chaos and masters of manipulation, and they have learned to weaponize the good intentions of others for their own selfish gain. For them, helping isn't an act of charity. It's an invitation to your own downfall. Centuries ago, in the corridors of power and the back alleys of political intrigue, the ultimate strategist, Niccolo Machiavelli, saw the patterns. He watched good people get torn down, not by their sworn enemies, but by the very people they chose to help. In his cold, pragmatic analysis of human nature, he argued that a ruler, and by extension, anyone who wants to protect their own stability, must do whatever it takes to seize and maintain power. And that includes having the power to say no. Today, we're applying Machiavelli's timeless lens to the modern world. We'll dissect 6 personality types he would have warned you about. People whose pleas for help are actually traps designed to sabotage your success. This isn't about becoming cynical or unkind. It's about becoming wise. It's about learning to tell the difference between a person in genuine need and a predator in disguise. By the end of this, you'll be armed with the knowledge to recognize these dangerous individuals before they drain your resources, your energy, and your ambition. The eternal victim master of emotional manipulation, first up, and maybe the most insidious of all, is the eternal victim. This is the person whose life is just a never-ending parade of crises, injustices, and misfortunes. And shockingly, none of it is ever their fault. They have perfected the art of helplessness, and they wield guilt and pity like a surgeon's scalpel. Their stories are always so compelling, aren't they? They're the coworker who's perpetually targeted by an unfair boss, buried under a workload no one could possibly handle. They're the friend whose relationships always end in disaster, betrayed by one cruel partner after another. They are the family member constantly ambushed by financial emergencies, bizarre illnesses, and bad luck that follows them around like a personal rain cloud. When you first meet them, your gut reaction is to help. Their distress triggers your empathy. You offer advice, lend them money, cover their shift, and spend hours on the phone listening to their problems. For a moment, it feels like you've made a difference. They thank you profusely, telling you they couldn't survive without you. You feel needed, like a hero. But that feeling is the bait, because soon another crisis pops up, and then another. You start to notice your advice is ignored. The money you lent is forgotten, but more is requested. The favors you do slowly become expectations. You realize they're not interested in solutions. They're interested in supply. Your attention, your sympathy, and your resources are their fuel. Machiavelli understood that people are driven by self-interest. The eternal victim's self-interest is in keeping the drama going, because that's the source of their power. By playing helpless, they control and manipulate everyone around them. Psychologically, these individuals often show traits of covert or vulnerable narcissism. They don't have the big, loud ego, but they have the same deep, seated entitlement and a stunning lack of empathy. They use guilt as their primary weapon. The moment you try to pull back, you'll hear, "I thought you were my friend," or "Never mind, I guess I'll just have to handle this all alone." Again, they're experts at making your boundaries feel like an act of betrayal. So how do you spot them? Watch for the gap between their words and their actions. They complain about being broke while making impulse buys. They cry about being lonely but reject any genuine connection that isn't centered on their drama. And most importantly, they never take accountability. There's always someone else to blame. The Machiavellian strategy here is simple. disengage. You can't win a rigged game. Helping them doesn't fix their problems. It just enables the behavior and casts you as a permanent character in their tragic play. You have to set firm boundaries. This isn't cruel, it's self-preservation. The simple, "I'm sorry you're going through that, but I'm not able to help," is enough. Be polite, be firm, and don't get sucked into the vortex. The ruthless flatterer prays with a hidden knife. Machiavelli saved a special warning for our second dangerous type, the ruthless flatterer. He wrote, "Of flatterers, of whom courts are full, men are so self-complacent in their own affairs, that they are preserved with difficulty from this pest. The court is now your office, your social circle, your online feed, and it's just as full of people who use praise as a weapon." The flatterer is a master of charm. They meet you and instantly seem to recognize your unique brilliance. They praise your insights, compliment your style, and laugh just a little too hard at your jokes. It's intoxicating. Who doesn't like being admired? But their praise isn't a gift, it's recon. They are studying you, mapping your ego, and searching for your insecurities. The flattery is meant to disarm you, to lower your guard so they can gain your trust and eventually exploit it. This is a classic Machiavellian tactic, using charm to gain an edge. Think of the new colleague who showers you with praise. Feeling a bond, you start sharing details about your projects, your ambitions, maybe even some office gossip. A few weeks later, your brilliant idea is being presented by them in a meeting, or a private frustration you shared is now being used to subtly undermine you. The flatterer gathered intelligence under the guise of admiration. This person can also be the partner who love bombs you, overwhelming you with affection at the start of a relationship. They mirror your values and tell you everything you've ever wanted to hear. But once you're emotionally hooked and dependent on their validation, the praise vanishes. It's replaced with criticism and control. So, how do you defend yourself? Machiavelli's advice was to build an immunity to praise. He said a wise leader should surround themselves with honest people who aren't afraid to speak the truth. In your life, this means finding friends who will challenge you, not just blindly agree with you. Pay attention to the compliments. Are they specific and earned, or are they vague and over the top? Someone who respects you will praise your actions. A flatterer praises your very existence. Watch for inconsistencies. Does the person who butters you up also gossip viciously about others? And most of all, test them. Be cautious with the information you share. A real friend's loyalty isn't dependent on what you can offer them. A flatterer's interest will fade the second they realize you aren't an easy mark. When you're secure in your own self-worth, praise is a nice bonus, not a desperate need. The powerless idealist beautiful, but blind the third person is maybe the most deceptive because their intentions are often pure. This is the powerless idealist. They aren't malicious. In fact, they're usually driven by a powerful sense of morality and a beautiful vision for a better world. The danger isn't in their heart. It's in their total blindness to reality. The idealist is the entrepreneur with a world-changing idea but no interest in a business plan. They're the activist with a perfect vision for justice who alienates allies by refusing to compromise. They're the manager who wants to build a workplace on pure trust but fails to set clear expectations, leading to total chaos. You get drawn in by their passion. You want to believe in their utopia, so you invest your time, money, and reputation into their cause. And here's where the trap springs. First, because their plans are completely divorced from the messy realities of human nature. They are almost guaranteed to fail, and when they do, you'll be dragged down with them. Second, if you dare to introduce a dose of pragmatism, if you point out a flaw or suggest a more practical path, you won't be seen as helpful. You'll be branded a cynic, a traitor to the cause. The idealist's black, and white world has no room for gray. Machiavelli was the ultimate realist. He famously said it's more important to understand how people do live than how they ought to live. He knew that pure idealism, disconnected from practical reality, leads to ruin. He would see the powerless idealist as a huge liability, someone whose noble goals are just a cover for disastrous naivety. How do you spot them? Listen for big, abstract principles with a total disdain for the boring details. Watch how they react to criticism. Do they consider it thoughtfully, or do they just attack the dissenter's character? That inability to handle disagreement is a massive red flag. Helping the idealist is like building a house on sand. The Machiavellian approach is to admire their passion from a safe distance, but never tie your own fate to their ventures. It's not cynical to demand a strategy that works. It's wise. We're halfway through Machiavelli's danger list. If this is giving you a new perspective on the people in your life, take a second to hit that subscribe button. We explore the sharp edges of power and psychology every week, and we'd love for you to join our community of strategic thinkers. Now, on to the next type, which can be the hardest one to see coming. The envious friend, the smiling saboteur, the fourth type, is one of the most painful to discover because they operate from inside your inner circle. This is the envious friend, the smiling saboteur. On the surface, they're your cheerleader and your confidant, but beneath that friendly facade, a silent, corrosive envy is eating away at them. Machiavelli knew that envy was one of the most powerful and destructive human emotions. He watched men smile and bow to a prince while secretly despising him for his success. That dynamic hasn't changed. It just plays out in our offices and friend groups now. The envious friend congratulates you on your promotion, then adds, "That's amazing. I guess you won't have time for your friends anymore." They like your happy relationship post, then privately message you with concerns about your new partner. They seem happy for you, but they subtly downplay your wins in front of others or forget to pass along a key piece of information. Their sabotage is almost never obvious. It's a quiet game of passive aggression, subtle digs, and strategic omissions. Their goal isn't to completely destroy you, but just to bring you down a peg, to dim your shine so it doesn't highlight their own perceived shortcomings. Your success doesn't just make you look good, it makes them feel bad and they resent you for it. So, how do you identify this smiling saboteur? Pay close attention to how people react to your good news. A real friend's joy is simple and genuine. An envious person's joy is complicated. It's often followed by a question that minimizes the achievement, or a quick subject change back to themselves. Also, notice who goes quiet when you're winning. Sometimes the loudest sign of envy is silence. And finally, be wary of friends who seem to secretly enjoy your setbacks. They're much more engaged and supportive when you're struggling than when you're soaring. What's the Machiavellian move here? Careful information control. Don't broadcast your biggest wins or your most ambitious plans to anyone you suspect of envy. Share your success with those who have proven they can celebrate with you. You don't need a big confrontation. They'll just deny it and play the victim. Instead, just create distance. Gradually confide in them less, rely on them for nothing, and keep the relationship polite but superficial. The masked rebel passive resistance in disguise, the fifth dangerous personality, is a master of subtle chaos, the masked rebel. This is the person who seems agreeable and supportive to your face. They'll nod in meetings, accept tasks with a smile, and agree to your plans. But in their actions, they are waging a quiet, subversive war using passive resistance as their weapon. This is the employee who agrees to a deadline and then misses it with a string of last. last-minute excuses. They're the teammate who publicly supports a project but then privately spreads doubt to everyone else. They're the person in a relationship who agrees to change but then forgets, fakes incompetence, or does a task so badly you have to do it yourself. Their resistance is never out in the open, because open defiance is easy to deal with. The masked rebel is way more cunning. They use procrastination, accidental mistakes, and deliberate misunderstandings to frustrate progress and undermine you without ever leaving a fingerprint. You feel constantly blocked, but you can't quite prove it. Every time you try to hold them accountable, they have a ready-made excuse that makes *U* seem unreasonable. Machiavelli understood that hidden dissent is far more dangerous than an open enemy. An open enemy can be fought, but a hidden one erodes your power from within. The masked rebel resents being told what to do, so they create chaos to feel a sense of control. So how do you handle them? You have to remove the ambiguity they hide in. First, document everything. After a conversation, send a follow-up email summarizing what was agreed upon, with clear tasks and deadlines. This paper trail makes it much harder for them to claim they misunderstood. Second, set small, incremental goals. Instead of one big deadline, create a series of check-ins. This exposes their procrastination before it can blow up the whole project. And third, hold them accountable for outcomes, not excuses. When they fail, don't get pulled into a debate. Just state the facts calmly. The task wasn't done by the deadline. What's the plan to fix it? Trust only their actions, not their words. By creating a structure of total clarity, you take away the fog they use as cover. The morally indignant justice as a weapon. Our final dangerous person is one who has thrived in our hyper-connected world, the morally indignant. This person cloaks their personal ambition, envy, and desire for control in the noble language of justice and righteousness. They don't just disagree with you, they condemn you. This is the person on social media leading a digital mob to cancel someone over a minor mistake, loving the public shaming. It's the coworker who uses company policy not to improve the workplace, but as a club to attack a colleague they dislike. They position themselves as the sole arbiter of what's right and wrong, all while conveniently ignoring their own major flaws. Their power comes from seizing the moral high ground. By framing every conflict as a battle between good them and evil you, they make it almost impossible to argue back. If you defend yourself, you're defending evil. If you question their motives, you're attacking virtue itself. It's a trap. Machiavelli would have recognized this strategy instantly. He wrote about the importance of appearing virtuous, noting that the appearance of morality can be a more powerful tool than actual morality. The morally indignant have mastered this. They use the language of justice not to achieve fairness, but to accumulate power. Psychologically, this can be a form of communal narcissism, where people derive their sense of superiority from their role as a righteous crusader. They lack empathy for those they condemn, seeing them not as people, but as symbols of evil. Trying to reason with the morally indignant is a fool's errand. So, what's the strategic response? First, do not engage in their moral theater. Refuse to be drawn into a public fight where they set the rules. They thrive on attention. Starve them of it. Often, the best response is dignified silence. Second, focus on building alliances with reasonable, fair-minded people. A mob loses its power when it's met with a strong network of people who know your real character. And finally, never, ever apologize to them under pressure. A forced apology isn't seen as remorse. It's seen as an admission of guilt and a sign of weakness, which will only encourage them to attack more. Don't play their game. Live by your principles and trust that, in the long run, Their performative righteousness will be exposed as the power grab it truly is. So, there you have it. Machiavelli's field guide to the 6 dangerous people you must not help. The eternal victim, the ruthless flatterer, the powerless idealist, the envious friend, the masked rebel, and the morally indignant. In his day, Machiavelli was called evil for his brutally honest take on human nature. But his goal wasn't to promote cynicism, it was to promote survival. He believed that to navigate the world successfully, you have to see it as it is, not as you wish it to be. This isn't a call to abandon kindness. Real kindness, offered to deserving people who will use it to grow, is a powerful and noble force. But naive generosity, given blindly to anyone who asks, is a critical weakness. Protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's a strategic necessity. Your time, energy, and well-being are your most valuable assets. You have a right to defend them. By learning to recognize these 6 personalities, you're not closing your heart. You're just building a gate and learning to be wise about who you let inside. You are taking back control and choosing to invest your kindness where it will grow, not where it will be burned for fuel. Have you encountered one of these types? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be the warning that helps someone else recognize a trap before they step into it. And if this has provided you with value, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay vigilant and remember Machiavelli's timeless lesson. Your greatest defense isn't a weapon, but the wisdom to know who to fight for and who to walk away from.